Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette and part 2 of our series on movies you should watch just for the men's clothing. In part 1 we covered movies from the 30s through the 60s, and today we'll go to the 70s to the modern era. Let's kick it off with The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, which came out in 72 and 74 respectively. The movie depicts the life of the Mafia Corleone family, in particular the patriarch Vito and his son Michael. Part 1 spends the time from 1945 to 55, while Part 2 focuses on the early life of Vito in the early 1900s and Michael's in 1958. Both films feature a wide area of clothing, including military attire, black tie, suits, and various other outfits. Of course, while some of the mafiosi outfits can be more on the ostentatious side, people are well dressed in general. And yes, we also recommend these movies for the plot, even though Part 3 from the 90s may be a bit more questionable. Next up is a 1973 movie, The Sting, which features Paul Newman and Robert Redford. It is set in 1936, and as such, the period clothing is of interest to clothes sources. The movie won 7 Oscars out of 10 nominations, and you can see them wearing black tie outfits, including detachable collars, which were period accurate. They also wore patterned suits, and if you want to learn more about the personal style of Paul Newman, check out this post here. Next up is the 1974 version of The Great Gatsby, which is the third in line of 4 movies about that character. Originally penned by St. Paul native F. Scott Fitzgerald, this novel is usually acclaimed for its language, but because of the setting, the clothes are of particular importance to anyone interested in men's clothing. Set in the 20s, Ralph Lauren designed the suits and costumes in this movie, and while they have a distinct 70s flair, particularly the suits, they're still very interesting to see, especially the pink suit that Robert Redford wears here. By the way, we also analyzed the 2013 version of The Great Gatsby, and you can learn more about that here. Another movie to watch is Chinatown from 1974, which is hailed by some as one of the best movies ever produced. It won numerous awards and was selected for preservation by the Library of Congress. The reason we put it on this list is because Jack Nicholson wears very period-accurate clothing, particularly his suits. Set in 1937, you can see him wearing tastefully neutral-colored suits paired with boulder ties and actual hats that flatter his face shape. If you watch it in a higher res version, you can also see the subtle patterns, which are quite nice. From the 80s, you definitely want to watch American Gigolo, which came out in 1980. It established Richard Gere as a leading man in Hollywood and commonly known as being the first mainstream movie featuring a male leading star with full frontal nudity. We also think it's worth watching for the clothes. When Gere is actually clothed, he wears a number of different outfits that are all somewhat preppy style influenced. To learn more about preppy style, Ivy or trad, please check out these sketches on our website here. He often wears summery combinations with lightweight shirts and slacks, combinations of polos with sport coats, and a polo overcoat designed by Giorgio Armani. To learn more about the polo coat, you can check out this guide here. On that note, if you want to learn more about Al Capone's style, please check out this post here. One movie that definitely can't be missing from this list is Wall Street, which came out in 1987. Starring Michael Douglas as corporate raider Gordon Gekko and Charlie Sheen trying to make his way at Wall Street. This movie is really famous for its 1980s power suits. In general, it has come to be seen as representative for the 1980s success and materialism. We've discussed Gordon Gekko's outfit in a Halloween costume video, which you can watch here. The clothes in this movie are so good because they were actually put together by Alan Flusser, who is a menswear style icon and author of many menswear books, including Dressing the Men, which if you haven't read it, you should definitely check it out. You can find a list of all of Flusser's books, including many others, here. What stands out stylistically in the movie are, of course, the double-breasted peak lapel power suits, as well as the shirts, which are quite bold and sometimes Winchester shirts with a contrasting white collar or even horizontal stripes, as well as the suspenders and the ties. You can also see lots of cufflinks, pleated pants, and cuffs. And while Gordon Gekko takes the top spot with his power suits, other suits are also interesting, even though they're a bit more muted. From the 1990s, you definitely want to check out the movie Casino, which came out in 1995. In the movie, you follow Ace Rothstein, a Jewish-American gambling expert overseeing a casino in Vegas. It is set in the 70s, and if you've watched our video on the history of the suit, you know that we're not a big fan of the 70s because stylistically, it was just a sad time that was loud and filled with polyester and nylon. However, in this movie, the bold and excessive outfits fit in with the kind of excessive culture of Las Vegas. While we don't recommend you wear the tone-in-tone suit and tie combinations under lighter sport coats and suits which De Niro pulled off, it's still fun to look at. Another interesting movie from 1999 is A Talented Mr. Ripley. It's a psychological thriller set in the 1950s Italy. It's about the life of Dickie Greenleaf and how someone else tries to impersonate him. It's a very stylish movie with lots of casual clothes and a very nice lifestyle and interior design. Clothes-wise, it's a mix of ivy, trad and prep paired with Italian flair. You see lots of oxford-cloth button-down shirts, linen, polo shirts, blazers, and tweed coats. That aside, it's definitely a great movie to watch. Now let's get to the 2000s with American Psycho. While you might not expect a satirical psychological horror film on a list of the Gentleman's Gazette, we added it here because it's so iconic for its clothes style and in particular its business card scene. The movie is definitely violent, depicting the investment banker and socialite yuppie Patrick Bateman. And while he doesn't behave gentlemanly at all, the power suits of the 1980s are definitely worth watching. Again, you'll find peak lapels, pinstripes, bold shirts, and ties. Even though some scenes in the office have a more beige palette, it creates a more humorous effect. Another interesting movie from the 2000s is The Single Man, which came out in 2009 and was directed by Tom Ford, who also financed it. Now, if you haven't checked out our style feature on him, you can do so here. And he also financed the movie, and they brought in the costume designers from Mad Men. And so you have a very mid-century modern style in this movie. Of course, with Tom Ford being a stylish clothes horse himself, he paid particular attention to detail about the clothing, and because of that, it's worth watching. While the main character, Colin Firth, is often seen in what you already know from Don Draper's Mad Men, which is a dark suit with slim lapels and slim ties, the younger Holt often wears more casual looks, which are more in line with his youth, such as sweaters, chinos, and suede chukka boots. Next up is Drive from 2011, featuring Ryan Gosling in a heist movie. The film received standing ovations at the Cannes Film Festival, but we put it on this list for the clothing, even though it's a bit more rugged, featuring boots and denim. Other things that stand out are the Henley shirts, and in particular, the driving gloves. And if you don't know it already, we're a big fan of driving gloves at Fort Belvedere too. Next up is the movie We from 2012, which stands for Wallace and Edward. And it's basically the love story of Wallace Simpson and Edward, who later became the Duke of Windsor, through the lens of Madonna. As a young Prince of Wales and later Edward VIII, who then abdicated and became the Duke of Windsor, he was always known for his style. And at the time, in the 30s, he was one of the most photographed men in the world. At the time, he revolutionized classic menswear by choosing soft turn-down colors versus stiff detachable colors and many other things. And he was also known for his bold patterns and interesting looks. Now, that's stuff that you can see in this movie, ranging from white tie to black tie and interesting casual wear. Of course, it's an American movie, and I think it would have even been better and more period accurate if it was British, but nevertheless, it's worth watching for the vibe of the 30s as well as the costumes. To learn more about the Duke of Windsor's style, please check out this in-depth analysis here. Probably a little less well-known, but still on our list, is the movie The Best Offer from 2013. Here, Geoffrey Rush plays an eccentric art expert and managing director of an auction house who collects art. The movie doesn't just feature great upper-class interior design, but the main character also has an extensive wardrobe, often wearing three-piece suits and interesting, subtle combinations. He also wears gloves at all times because he's afraid of infection. How timely is that? In my mind, the best thing in the whole movie is the extensive glove closet, which hides the entrance to his private art gallery. It's such a cool closet because it features mirrors, and with its sheer size, it is much bigger than most people's regular closets. Next up is a 2015 movie, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's a spy action movie directed by Guy Ritchie, set in the Cold War era of 1963. It's interesting from a wardrobe perspective because the two main characters, Cavill and Hammer, are really differentiated through the power of their wardrobe. On the one hand, you have the debonair Napoleon Solo, who wears three-piece suits in lighter shades of gray and blue. On the other hand, you have Ilya Kuryakin, who wears muted suits or ensembles of a suede blue zone jacket with a flat cap and slacks. To wrap up our list, we focus at Hail Cesar from 2016, which is set at Hollywood's golden age of the 1950s. While the film wasn't well received with the audiences, we included it here because the fashion designer of the movie did months of research to get periodic accuracy for the late 1940s suits. So for example, Brolin's double-breasted suits and Homburg hats were chosen so they worked well with his complexion. Also, his mustache was styled after Walt Disney and his hair was permed. You also see characters wear black tie, patterned sport coats, ascots, and other ensembles. Two films we didn't discuss here are one, The Artist, who won an Oscar, but we already discussed it in depth in this piece on our website. And the other one is Kingsman, which had such a profound impact on pop culture that we should probably make its own video about it. So if you haven't done so already, check out part 1 of this series and enjoy watching some movies. If you know of any movies that feature classic stylish men's clothing that we've missed, please share with us in the comments below. In today's video, I'm wearing a vintage TV or movie jacket made of corduroy with a shawl collar and black satin accents on the pockets as well as a belt, which is something that people would actually wear when they watched TV or movies back in the day. I'm pairing it with a white cotton dress shirt and barrel cuffs, as well as a forest green silk knit tie from Fort Belvedere, which works well with the paisley wool silk pocket square, which you can also find in our shop here. My slacks are vintage Polo Ralph Lauren with pleats, probably from the late 80s or 90s, and as such, they're cut a lot wider than modern slacks. The pants have a classic Clenchek or Prince of Wales pattern, which works quite well with the bold needlepoint Albert slippers in green with red and charcoal stripes. Because those are already bold patterns, I chose to pair them with a solid pair of over-the-calf socks and slight clogs in red and white from Fort Belvedere. The green, red, and charcoal from my shoes also pair well with my pinky ring, which has a bloodstone in dark green and red, and the color is picked up by my tie as well as the pocket square.